just to kind of start off things, I wanted to go over really quick LDS org, what they have to say about abuse. And I wanted to quote it directly so that there's no misconception on what we're talking about here. It says, under the Marriage and Family Relations Study Guide, that unchecked anger can quickly trigger an explosion of cruel words and other forms of emotional abuse that can scar a tender heart. It is that which cometh out of the mouth, the Savior said, this defileth a man. Physical abuse is anger gone berserk and is never ever justified and always unrighteous. That's something that I think that we all when we talk about abuse, we think of physical abuse, but also we want to touch on emotional abuse, which is also stated specifically as verbal abuse and constant criticism, but it can also come sneaky into our lives through intimidation, manipulation, and refusal to ever be pleased. We have some good speakers that Stephanie's going to go ahead and introduce the rest of the night who's going to be talking. And we're really glad that you guys are all here and hope you enjoy what we have to share.
Hey. So yes, again, thanks for coming out. This project's really important to me because my grandma was in an abusive relationship, and her husband at that time had tried to kill her a couple times. And her support from her family was basically, well, you made your bed, now you lie in it. And things have come a long way since then, because this was like back in the 40s. And so like I'm aware that there's programs out there because I've had this in my family. But this past summer, talking with a friend, I became aware that not a lot of people actually know that there are resources out there and what to do if you get in this situation. And so some friends and I put this together as our project. And we are very lucky to have Sharon Spencer come to speak with us. She is a BYU-Hawaii alumni. She is a mother of 6 and has 5 grandkids. And she, among domestic violence, she is a certified suicide counselor and interventor. And so she is a social work certified and trained in domestic violence programs. And she co-founded Napua Aloha, which is a local grassroots organization that focuses on awareness, education, and prevention of domestic violence. And so I'm going to welcome, here's Sharon.
Aloha and kia ora. Kia ora. Kia ora. I actually sat in this room as a student way back in 19-something. But yes, why I have a passion for domestic violence is because as a young mother, I had 3 young children, 4. Because I had twins, so it couldn't be 3. So I had 4 young children. I lived in a street in Fairfield, Hamilton, New Zealand, and across the road I would hear this lady getting beaten up pretty much daily. And my kids would say, "Mom, do something, help that lady." And I would say, "Okay, I'm calling the police." So every day I'd call the police because this poor lady would just get beaten up. And one night I heard this knock on my door, and I opened the door and she was standing there naked. Every single part of her body was bruised. Her husband had taken the vacuum cleaner hose and had beaten her, just beaten. Every part of her body was bruised, welts everywhere. I took her in, wrapped her in a sheet, had her sit down, and I said, "My goodness, girl, you got to get away. You got to get away. He's going to kill you. You got to get away." So that next day, I called her family way up in Auckland, and I said, "You got to help this lady. You got to help her. She's got to get away. He's going to really hurt her." That next day, I gave her $20, sent her way up to Auckland to go and stay with her parents. Well, guess what? Tell me.
She came back.
She was back. Not even a week. And she was back, and I went, "Blast house. That was a waste of my $20. I could have used it for food for my children. But yeah, she was back. And that big question, why, was always there. So one day I happened to be looking out the window, and there she was in the middle of the road, and he was on top of her, just pounding her. So I went and I called the police again. And they came about an hour later. Why an hour? You don't want to go there when the action's happening. My goodness, you could get hurt. And that's the reality. As a policeman, if you go when it's happening, you can get hurt. So they don't want to go when the action's happening. They come 20 minutes after when he's cooled down. Yeah. But she was really beaten up, so I took her in my house again. Okay, by now, this young man was part of a domestic, a gang. We call them Black Power back home. So finally, every day he got pretty much upset with me, calling the police on him. So every time I would go out and get my mail, he'd come out and he'd go, "You fat B-I-T-C-H." And I go, "Wait, is he calling me a fat B-I-T-C-H?" Yes, he was. But not only did he do that, he brought his friends to intimidate me. "Hey, fatso! Go get your mail, you fat," whatever. And I'd be like, oh, what did I do to him? I'm just trying to protect his wife. But it went on and on. I couldn't leave my house without them throwing things at me, without them intimidating me, because I didn't want to see his girlfriend getting beaten anymore. So 3 months down the line, I happened to be talking to some friends from church. I had a Tongan friend, and he actually came over to visit my house. I walked out and he heard these men heckling me. And he said, "What's happening?" And I said, "Oh, those guys, they call me a fat whatever, to my face. They tell me they're going to kick my A because I'm a nosy bee." And that's what I had for 3-4 months. He said, "Don't worry, sister." So one day I'm sitting in my house with my 4 kids, not wanting to go out and get my mail because I'll be intimidated, when 6 carloads of Tongan men that look like the fridge came driving up to my driveway. All of them got out of the car, made a line in front of my house where these men were heckling me and said, "This is my sister. You scream at her, we're going to come down here and we're going to bust you up." Well, great for domestic violence, right? "We are going to bust you up. You hassle my sister anymore, we're going to beat you." Well, guess what? It stopped. It worked. It was effective. But that's what domestic violence is. Beating a woman is effective. You'll get her to do what you want her to do, right? Oh, that's what they said. So it all stopped. Well, I'm here in Hawaii. I came over, I went to school, and guess what happened? I get a call from my best friend. Actually, my neighbor who told me stop being a nosy neighbor, don't help her anymore. Don't help her. She's just going to go back. Every time you help her, she goes back. Don't do it anymore. She said, guess what? She went to Australia. Her family sent her there. He went and followed her. In fact, I think she paid his way over. 4 years ago, he killed her. And that's why I do what I do today. Because I couldn't help that one person back then. So I came back here to BYU. I got my bachelor's degree. Somebody let me walk through and get it. And I started working in shelters. And I started educating myself about domestic violence because I didn't want anyone else to be hurt. And I didn't want anyone else to die when they kept coming to me for help and I really didn't know what I was doing. So they've asked me to talk about this topic with you today. And I hear that some of you are single, some of you are married. So what I'm going to do right now is, they asked me to talk about physical, the types of abuse, okay? So basically, I'm going to talk to you about physical, and all I'm going to do is have you tell me what are some of the types of physical abuse. When I do this, I typically will, I have a wall of pain, which I started doing with women when I had groups for women and children. And I would actually write physical, emotional, psychological, sexual, and also verbal abuse down. And so what I do with the group of women is I go and get them red and blue pens. Blue and black pens. Why is it blue and black? Bruises. Old and new. And I have the woman come and write down any type of abuse that's ever happened to them. Any type of abuse. It could be he hit me, he shoved me, he pulled my hair, he spat at me, he threw me to the ground, he dragged me by the hair for almost half a mile. I mean, those are all the different types of physical abuse that I have seen being written down. And then verbal, of course, swearing, calling her names, threatening her is part of emotional, part of psychological, but I'd have them write down all the types of abuse that have ever happened to them. And then what I do is I give them red pens. And what the red pens are to check off if it happened to you also. And so what I often see is hit, punch, and then if I have 6 women in the group, 6 checks, yeah? Because it's happened to every single woman in that group. And basically, what I do is I have this wall of pain, which someone was supposed to bring tonight, and it's actually a recreation of one group that I ran. And it was amazing to see how many of these women have gone through so much abuse. And why do I say women? Are men never abused? Yes, they are. Men are abused by other men in a homosexual relationship, yeah? Or vice versa, yes. I've had a few men, but you know what? We don't allow them in the shelters. What we usually do here in the state of Hawaii is put them up at a hotel. Yeah? Put them up at a hotel. They won't do that for us women. Put the men up in a hotel. Yeah? Men are also abused by their wives, especially when they have a Polynesian wife. I'm not saying don't marry Polynesians, men. It's just that we have a few that are married to Polynesian women, and they can be kind of abusive, yeah. Because there's all different ranges of abuse. I worked with this one lady from China. Her abuse was that her husband never spoke to her for 6 months. Imagine the emotional abuse from that. He wouldn't talk to her. Now, if that was me, I'd be like, yeah, yeah, he don't need to talk to me. But for her, it gnawed inside her. He wouldn't say hello. He wouldn't talk to her at all. He just grunted now and then. That's a form of abuse. Yeah? In fact, some of the worst type of abuse. Yeah? So what I decided to do, because they only gave me 20 minutes, I'm so glad, is if I could have some volunteers. I have some volunteers because, you know what, I'll just volunteer you if you don't put up your hand, is I consider dating to be actually a, why know this young man. Okay, come on. I consider dating to be actually a playing field. Meaning, you know what? We all are out there, young man. I did not see you. And it's really good that some of our young men are actually. Oh, I have some more. Which one do you go? Here you go, in the front there. Oh, okay. Oh, I have some more, young man. I'll make sure you have some. So I considered dating, and you know, I had the description of what it means. Well, dating and violence actually is when you abuse your person that you're dating, yeah? I mean, I could have brought this one where you can read it, but it's when you hit somebody who you're not married to, yeah, and you're seeing in a relationship, yeah. So basically, that's the definition, and it's a simple definition. When you hit someone or hurt somebody that you're dating. So what I wanted to do is, this, when you're dating, is a really good time to find out a little bit about the person that you are interested in, yeah? Now, if I said this phrase, if he tells you that his father beat his mother, would that be a red flag for you? Yeah? What? Ladies? Is it a learned behavior?
Because it's your mom
A lot of times when young people would come into the shelters with their parents, we noted that a lot of the young boys that came in had broken arms or were hurt. Why? A lot of the young men eventually try and stop their dads from hurting their mom. But why is it that these young men go on in life, not all of them, and abuse their girlfriends? Because he saw their dad doing it. Is it as simple as that? Because he saw his dad, and his dad got what he wanted from doing it. And he learned that it was okay in his house to do that. Because mum stayed there and the family seemed to go on. Strange, yeah. Could I have somebody read theirs? Read their red card. If somebody could stand up and read it. Or you can sit down and read it if you want. Now read it real loud so everyone can hear.
I have the right to live without either and refrain from my boyfriend or girlfriend's anger.
Okay, can I take that one? Let me see. I have the right to live without fear and confusion from my boyfriend, girlfriend's anger. Why is that a red flag? I have a right to live from fear. Gosh, if you're afraid of your boyfriend, you shouldn't be with him. If you are fearful of him, you shouldn't be with him. He needs some help. Yeah? If you're any woman who fears your husband, he needs help. Yeah? I ran a men's group, and these men were batterers. We'll call them what they are. They beat their wives. They're batterers. Men who beat their wives. And in the group, I asked them, Are you a warrior? In my culture, a warrior is like 4 chambers of the heart. He protects his family. He promotes peace and harmony in his family. He promotes spirituality in his family, and he provides for his family. If I ask these men, are you a warrior? And you know what they all said? All 5 of them? Yes, we are warriors. We protect our family. And then I said, then you tell me why she has a restraining order on you. And all the men looked at me and they went, some men, their eyes went down to the ground. Because if you're supposed to protect your wife, why do you have a restraining order telling you you can't be with your wife? You tell me that. And they couldn't. And they cried. If you have seen men cry, you should have come to my class. Because they cried. Because they knew they were not being warriors. You cannot protect your wife if you've got a restraining order. Let me tell you that. Okay. So let's have somebody read the next one.
I have the right to choose and keep my friends.
Why is that a red flag? Or related to a red flag? Why would that be a red flag for you ladies? When he tells you you can't go with Jessie, she's a big mouth. I don't want you anymore going out with that girlfriend of yours. She's a bad influence. Huh?
Controlling.
Controlling. Very good. Oh, I know that boy in the back there too. Controlling. Because he wants to control every aspect of your life. Okay? All right, the next one. Just read. Oh, sorry, I gave an empty. Oh, yours is a special one.
Oh, I have the right to disagree.
Do some of you men actually not want your wife to disagree with you? Is it always your way? Huh? I tell you what, if you're with an abusive man, it is that way. If you're with a batterer, it is that way. Because if 1 minute you disagree, you are against me. You're either for me or against me. Anyone got any thoughts of that? Hey, let's read the next one.
I have the right to be treated as an equal.
Treated as an equal.